Here's a matter of State versus Eric Richard Olson, cause number 13C134302, Seattle designation. Mr. Olson is before the court.
No.
Custody with his counsel, Mr. Jason Moore, Andrew Hamilton for the state. This is a companion case to the case the court just sentenced. Mr. Olson is to be sentenced by this court on counts 1, 2, and 4 of the information, charging him with organized retail theft in the second degree. The sentencing range for each offense is 33 to 43 months, and we have an agreed recommendation that he receive 43 months on each count, each term to run concurrently. We ask that there be no contact with Safeway and QFC stores, the Puerto Vallarta restaurant in West Seattle, and his co-defendants, Mr. Morales Cardenas, Michael Jensen, Shay Glenwichke, Amber Vincent. We ask for restitution and amount to be determined, victim penalty assessment of $500 and a B&A fee of $100. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jason Moore, Mr. Olson, who is present in custody at this time. As counsel indicated, this is an agreed recommendation. Mr. Olson understand just the terms before we went into this. I think it's a fair resolution, given the facts, as you probably noticed. Mr. Olson does have a substantial criminal history, and accordingly, with this sentence, he's going to spend a great deal of time in custody. He's looking at 43 months. Agreed rec. We think it's fair. I would ask one thing. It seems that the issue regarding the no contact orders, we were aware of the conditions regarding the stores, was not aware of the co-defendant no contact orders, and we don't really have any issue with that aside from Michael Jensen, who is has been a friend of Mr. Olson's. You don't mind that. Oh, Mr. Olson is correct. He has no issue with that being considered as well. So I stand corrected on that.
Well, it's not easy to stay friends with somebody during something like this. So sometimes it's not easy to put it behind you if you try to stay friends with somebody. So I certainly don't mind. I know that Mr. Olson has Costco as one of the places, and that's a little different from at least what Mr. Cardenas pled guilty to. Is there, Mr. Morales Cardenas is paying a substantial amount of restitution. Is it likely, just so I know later for my purposes, since I'll handle the restitution hearing, that Mr. Olson will be paying additional restitution to those? Because were there other QFCs or other Safeways involved? Or
There were a number of stores involved, including uncharged conduct. Mm-hmm. And I think there will be a sum where the state will ask for joint and several liability.
Well, that's fine, but I think the story did not ask for that. So, again, I'm not saying you're wrong or you're right, but I'm only saying I don't want to be confused because only one party is here on one restitution. But we do know that Mr. Morales Cardenas has agreed to and is paying a rather large sum, $15,000. So
Yes,
you have that information, and if I need to be reminded or if that's part of your negotiation, you'll let me know. That doesn't mean that's all of it as to Safeway or QFC, but I'm not going to remember this necessarily in a few months, but that's your job, okay? Was anybody planning to speak on behalf of Mr., I mean, you haven't necessarily finished, but was anybody here to speak on behalf of Mr. Olson?
No, you.
So, Mr. Olson, I'm happy to hear from you. Obviously, it's a difficult day, but if there's anything that you wanted to do to address the court, or I'm, again, happy to hear from you now.
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't aware I was pleading to the 43 months. I thought it was a range between 33 and 43. So,
There is a range between 33 and 43.
Oh.
And the agreement, do you want to take a moment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I could address the court on the restitution matter.
Well, wait a second, because at least a couple of people aren't listening to you.
It's true.
yeah.
Okay, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Sanchez.
Your Honor, there's, I think the restitution for the defendants that actually stole items is different from Mr. Morales Cardenas. We'll determine that amount, and we'll ask that Mr. Olson only pay for the particular thefts that he was involved in. There was an issue about Costco, that was in Everett, in Snohomish County, and I think that matter's already been resolved. We're not going to be seeking restitution for that.
Okay. Anything that you need to add, Mr. Moore?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so we'll come back to you. Again, Mr. Olson,
Yes, ma'am.
you've had a chance to talk to your attorney. Do you
Yes.
have additional questions for him, or is there something else you want to tell the court?
No, I understand what I'm doing now. It's, but I would like to say I'm very sorry for what I've done. I'm very ashamed.
Thank you, sir. Court's going to impose 41 months. There's no magic number here. I understand the parties could agree. I'm not minimizing what happened. That's a lot of, certainly Mr. Olson's life. The reason he has a relatively long sentence is because of prior criminal behavior as well. I mean, that's how our system works. I don't feel that necessarily the top of the range is appropriate. This is above the midpoint of the range. So I'm saying that as the sentence for each of the 3 counts, and they, of course, will run concurrently. Court record indicates 160 days. Credit, have you been in about 5.5 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you'll get credit for those days. There isn't expected to be any supervision, community custody, or any of those things, right?
That's correct.
All right. The court will impose the victim's penalty assessment. I will, of course, impose the mandatory DNA. We'll provide a sample, and there's a $100 charge for that. I will waive all other non-mandatory fees and fines. There will be interest only on the restitution. I'll waive trust account fees. Again, there's likely to be a substantial amount of restitution when the dust settles here, and we know the exact amount. I obviously will hope that Mr. Olson will have a productive future and that he's able to address those financial concerns.
Your Honor, I wonder if Mr. Olson would waive his right to be present at a future restitution hearing.
Pardon me 1 second. Mr. Olson agrees to waive his presence.
Thank you. I probably should have said this to Mr. Morales Cardenas as well. It's always kind of what happens next that's important. I respect the fact that you have recognized what you did. You made an apology for it, so we're going to hope that the future's better.
Yes,
And
me too.
that, again, you're going to look back on this and be able to put it behind you. I wish you best of luck, sir.
Thank you.
So we'll take your fingerprints. I think you know you're not going to be allowed, again, for a long period of time to have a firearm or possess a firearm,
Right.
and you won't be able to vote either. A lot of conditions have to get met. Your attorney can discuss that with you before those rights are returned to you. And so there will be a no contact order with the individual.
You don't need to know. Thanks.
convenient. Okay. Thank you. So you have included the no contact orders that we discussed?
Yes.
With, there's no particular exceptions? Thank you.
Your Honor, at this time, we'll pass forward a signed copy of the biological sample notice of loss of voting rights and firearm rights, as well as notice of appellate rights, as well as the signed JNS forms to the judge's sentence. Thank you.
Did you want me to indicate Deputy Myers again, or he didn't work with you on this?
No, he worked with us, but he didn't, I only put down who appears before the court on this.
Okay, present, others present. And nothing was dismissed. Mr. Olson was not mentioned in any of the other counts. Okay, thank you. So $600 plus restitution, 41 months on each count, no contact, and Safeway, UFC, and Costco we're not worried about?
Correct.
Mr. Morales Cardenas, Mr. Jensen, Ms. Nitschke, and Ms. Vincent. Okay, go ahead and sign. I'm signing Appendix B. I'm signing Appendix G, which does require a DNA test that will happen in the jail. Mr. Olson has signed his notice of rights, the loss of the right to vote and the right to possess a firearm. I'll get a copy of all of these in just a moment. Mr. Olson has signed his rights of collateral attack and appeal. You've had a chance to talk to him about this, Mr. Moore?
I did briefly.
Thank you.